Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and today I have another special guest. Guys, I've been talking about this multiple times on the last episodes, how I've been able to connect with people by getting in rooms at masterminds and other things. LaShawn is one of those people. So I want to welcome LaShawn Merritt to the podcast.
Chris, thank you for having me, man. Hey, glad to be here. Glad to share my story. Glad to talk with you again. You know, it's been a few months, and we've both been working, and I'm glad to be able to come up here and let you know where I am and share my story with your fan base.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, one of the things that we'll talk about real quick is LaShawn just happens to have 3 gold medals from the Olympics. That's not that big of a deal, but you know, he's got 3 gold medals. And it was funny as I was doing the review this morning that I do before each podcast I record, I pull up all this information and data and look at it. There were so many things on there. Like I would have had to do a special podcast just on all those things without him even being on the show. So what I want everybody to know is that LaShawn and I met at this mastermind. He was kind of talking to a group of people, and I just walked up to him and I said, LaShawn, let's have breakfast, right? Let's have breakfast. And because I wanted to connect with LaShawn, I felt that I could bring some value to him on some of the things that he was trying to do. Did you find that odd that this random guy walks up to you and says, let's grab breakfast?
Man, you know what? People come and talk to me during those masterminds, but the fact that you're right, we had early, and I got up early. It was an early session that day, so we had to get up earlier for the breakfast, and I didn't mind, you know, so because if the universe told you to come to me, and when we did talk initially, and I was so receptive of, okay, it's something about this, let's make this happen. I'm glad that we did. So the universe, it works, man.
Yeah, I got to tell you, before we started recording, LaShawn and I were talking about just this trajectory he's been on since we met even. And every time I turn around, LaShawn's on another stage, or he's got another one of these incredible Nike camps he's running. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But I think it's really important that we talk about the trajectory of being this gold medal professional athlete. And then what happened after that? Like, how did you feel when that started to come to an end, LaShawn?
You know, it ended with an injury. It was during COVID, and I actually had a toe injury. So I'd never been injured a lot in my career. I take pride in knowing my body and being such aware of my body. And when that happened, I was hesitant to go under the knife. And it happened and COVID hit, and I really couldn't get the recovery that I really needed because it was during that time when everything was shut down. But I continued to train. I continued to train hard. I invested more into myself. And when it ended, it was a weird space, you know, not necessarily because I had this fame or I was used to this type of notoriety or excitement. It was really just missing the process. I'm a process guy, you know, and I love the process. So that daily grind that I was able to do and all that accountability, because it's a sport where you bring your best self, and there's a lot of accountability in the sport of track and field, individual sport. You know, I loved that. And when that was taken away from me, that purpose, that daily purpose, I fell into a space of, okay, what do I do? Who am I now? Especially being that the big purpose of that was because of my brother. You know, the fact that he got murdered and passed away and really didn't get to maximize his life, I felt. I said, hey, I'm good at something. People telling me I could be great. So I dove in, sacrificed, isolated myself, and maximized an opportunity that I had where I knew Father Time was going to play a part. So once that was done, I got into a space of, okay, who am I and what's next? And I was fortunate to get around some great people and contact some friends who knew me from those 17 years within the sport, and got into a community, asked for help, let them know who I was and that I brought more than just gold medals to a room and to the table. And here we are today.
Yeah, I'll second that. I had the opportunity to see you speak at the mastermind, and you're right. You did bring a lot more than just gold medals. Now, the gold medals were pretty cool. I loved holding. I couldn't believe how heavy they were. But the story behind the connection that you had with your brother to find strength from that to push through. My mentor, Ben Newman, calls that the burn. It's when your why and purpose connect and ignite. And we know that the tragedy that you faced there with your brother definitely gave you that strength. I'm just curious, did you pull from that a lot when you had days maybe you didn't want to train, or like you just had self-doubt? Did you pull from that to keep pushing forward?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that is where I developed that inner voice, that positive inner voice, and those affirmations that when times got hard, I went to the we got this. You know, it was more of that. And that's why it was more of a selfless deal for me. You know, I knew he was with me, not only from him. My mom always told me to just go and have fun with whatever I did, so there was no stress. My dad would always tell me I was meant for something special or something great. So I continued to just pour into the work. But my brother's passing definitely was a big part, because I knew I was great at something and he wasn't here. And like I said, I knew it was only a matter of time that that was going to end. But the beauty in that, and because of that, I felt like I had to develop a formula here. So I knew I could be great at something. So that's why I took the course and the way I took the sport. I knew I had the DNA, but I knew it was going to be so important to develop here, so that when it was finished, I could take this formula that I developed and knew about myself and put it in whichever lane I decided to.
Yeah, I think that we talk about that a lot. And that's one of the focuses when I'm speaking at events, talking about strength through adversity, right? And
Right.
that's actually the name of the summit that I've got coming up in June, the online summit called
Live.
Strength Through Adversity. You're not alone. And
Right.
and that I think most people can't find strength when they're faced with that adversity or something of that magnitude in their life.
Right.
That separates you, and obviously had a lot to do with what you were able to accomplish. Can you share with us a story real quick about how you decided to run the 400 meter, like when the 400 came about? Because this is the one thing that amazed me about the whole story.
Yeah. So I was a junior in high school, and my track coach was the football coach. And we were at a competition, and I guess they were acting up in training a couple of days before or whatever, because he would never ask anybody to run the 400 during competition. We trained, and he knew everybody hated it. We were football guys. And I said, I'll run it. And I ran it. I loved it. I won the first one. It was hard, but I kept running it. And something about it, you having to beat it more like mind, body, soul, put your like everything into it. I kept getting better at it. I started training in school. Then I had another group after school. And that year, I ended up winning everything until my district meet, my regional meet, and my state meet. The year after that, my senior year, I ended up winning everything, like district, state, regional, national, junior nationals. I was a world junior champion. It was the first time I had gone out of the country. We went to Grosseto. I left there with 3 goals as a junior. I had only been running the 400 for 2 years. And then I could go to any college I wanted to. I was number one in the world, actually, as a youth. And I decided to go to East Carolina. It was 3 hours away. I didn't want to go too far. My brother passed away, and he was at Shaw University, which was 3 hours away. So I didn't want to go too far away from the family. But East Carolina at the time was an all Adidas school. The track and field was Adidas. So the coach said, look, if you switch if you, no, he told me if I went there, he would switch the whole program to Nike. So we ended up going, and my freshman year, I ended up running a competition at Arkansas. I was like the best freshman or the best at the time. And it was against all elite athletes. And I went there, Arkansas. I won. I ran the second fastest time ever. Nike called me 3 weeks later and said, look, you just beat everybody. We paid the rent. We're going to pay you to give up your college eligibility. And we're going to give you this multi-million dollar contract. And we're going to pay for whatever college you want to go to. But you have to be top 3 in the world from here on out, or we're going to reduce you. So I had to grow up quick. I was in it, and I stuck to it.
So think about that, everybody. That's 3 years in. That's literally 3 track seasons in, and he's number one in the world. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
The people like you ran the 400 because nobody else would.
yeah.
Like
No,
it's not like you've been practicing since sixth grade. You ran
right,
the and man, I think it's so powerful that God put. I mean, I know He put His hand on you. It was like, LaShawn, let's go.
right,
Let's go. We're about to show some people what we got, right?
right.
And it's just an amazing story. Now, I want to circumvent that for a second, and because you were a big time athlete and had to leave to go pro, how do you feel about the NIL stuff? Because like now you
Mm,
would have been able to get your money and stay in school, right?
right, right, right. You know, I haven't followed that much. I know about it. That's it's interesting because sometimes money can change the discipline and change different things. But I do feel like, see, I don't know. I know I haven't thought about that much. If I was in that situation, I don't know. It's rough, man. It's a sticky situation because money gets tricky,
It does.
and money gets tricky. Yeah,
Yeah, it does. There's a lot going on with all of that. I'm just curious.
enormous.
You're the first D1 athlete I've asked that to, but yeah, it's interesting how that's all shaken out.
Right,
So let's talk about um, the athlete mindset.
right.
I know you talk about that a lot, and how that works to take that from athlete mindset to being multiple time gold medalist, world champion, to use that mindset and work ethic to build out your coaching. I'm not your coach, but your speaking career and everything else you're doing now. What is that? I mean, how does that
Uh,
relate?
the championship mindset. I feel like that starts with preparation. Being in something and knowing you can handle something, but knowing how to prepare for it. And that's what me being a high performer. I mean, more of a high performer over a high achiever.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with that
Yeah,
preparation
that's from the
for
mastermind.
the
Yes,
mastermind.
sir.
It
Yes,
starts
sir.
with that. It starts
Mm-hmm.
with that
Yeah.
process. So I got into a lane that I felt like I had some interest in. I knew people in it. Um, so then it was a matter of creating the best community, creating the best coaches, finding what fit for me, understanding how to prepare, knowing that results take time. It's a process. All these things that I would do throughout the career in that training phase is the same approach I'm taking in this. Um, but I also have a slight advantage, I feel, because I come from a world where everyone's looking at me. That track and field where there's no helmet, everybody's looking at me, and so I never get really spooked by the crowd. It's just now that I have to verbalize different things. At first, I had to just muster up this energy and trust the preparation and the feeling, but now I just have to verbalize things. But it's not that much of a difference, It's all in the preparation, I feel.
So I know you talked. I heard you talk about running those races and understanding the twitch and everything with
Right,
your eyes closed, right? Really envisioning all of that. I do that a lot when I'm getting ready to speak on a stage, right?
right,
I imagine what the room's going to be like and where I want to be at as I go through the motions. And Renee taught me that, right? To really
right.
focus in and dial in on what that looks like. Um, how do you do that before you get on a stage? Like, do you do the same?
So I did it in Vegas this weekend. I spoke, I mean, not Vegas, I'm sorry. I did it in Dallas. I spoke in Dallas this weekend at a Win the Storm conference. And the day before, I actually got on stage, walked around the stage, uh, envisioned myself talking in front of people and everything, just got the lay of the land. And that gave me ability to be able to start visualizing that night and just figuring out what I look like on that stage. Then the morning before I got up, got back on stage, did it again, and just got some reps in that environment. I walked around the crowd just to understand who the audience was, and when it was go time, I did the exact same thing. Before I step on the track, I say a prayer. I kiss the track. I step on the track. I did the same thing before I actually stepped on stage. And it was a huge stage. did the same thing, walked on stage, and I felt comfortable. I felt like, okay, now I'm transforming into who I'm meant to be, who I'm called to be. Now I have to know I am him and be that person.
Yeah, isn't it amazing to know that when you get on that stage, you have a responsibility to help someone else who's where you were 5 or 10 years ago, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's what fuels me, right? I'm not have like you could put me in an arena with 100,000 people. I'm not afraid of it. I know I have a responsibility, and there may be
Right,
one person in the crowd that gets something from it, and that's
right,
okay.
right.
But I have a responsibility to be up there. Um, when you get on that stage, do you ever draw strength from your brother to be the best speaker and leader like that, or and also strength from the what you know how, because your body knows what it feels like to win, obviously, right?
Right,
Your
right,
mind knows.
right. So it's a weird space. It's a different space, actually. This the one I did in Dallas was the biggest one I've did thus far. I've did small engagement, but this was a big deal. And that first chapter of my life, it was something that I took and knew that I wasn't going to be able to do all my life, right? And it was the purpose. It was a purpose and a drive behind it, which was maximize this because he was the star, he was the light of the family, he was the oldest brother, and maybe he would have been something in it. Now I have something. I have to go
Yeah.
hard at it, right? But now in this chapter, it's like, okay, in that I kind of didn't get to find out who I was and,
That's
and
so
what I
good.
and what I liked. I knew what I could handle and understand who I was in a sense of being able to know myself when it came to preparing and executing something, right? But not like what I like to do or the hobbies. I really dove into it. So the daily dreams and the daily routine was all around that. I didn't make many friends. I didn't burn any bridges either, but I was selfish in that I knew it was a time that I wasn't going to be able to do this. So now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I did that, and the uniqueness of it and the way I handled things were so unique that now I understand when I speak and tell my story, it's all about the audience and letting them know who I am, right? And coming into my own self, realizing that what I did, there was a lot of me put into that. I was so close to it sometimes that I didn't realize how how uh the sacrifice and the focus and all these things were and the discipline was so uncommon. But now that I
Yeah.
realize that is me pouring into people and letting them know, hey, this is how I handle this and you can do this too. And these are ways that I did it. And I wasn't really focused on being the best this, the best that. I was only focused on being the best version of myself. And if you take that and take that ingredients, I mean, that's a happy, successful life. Yeah, so it's more to really understanding myself when I get on stage to know what I really did and really being able to tap into those times to be able to
Yeah, man.
share. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to do that and draw from it. I've got a tattoo on my arm that said CJ's watching. That's my son that passed away. He's actually in the picture right behind me there, passed away in
Okay.
2020. And I rub that tattoo on my arm before I get on stage because I know that little dude's watching me and I better bring it, man. Because
Hmm.
like he
Hmm.
gave me the power to be up here and the confidence to do it. And man, I do not want to let him down.
I love it.
Um,
I love
I
it.
love the fact that you talk about this next phase of your life really being focused on what LaShawn wants to do because you really feel like what you carried along was what your brother wanted and trying to live through that, which is amazing to have that understanding, that separation. How did you figure that out? Like, were just at peace one day and that came to you? Because that's a big transition, LaShawn.
Um, it really was because I, I didn't really embrace who I was and how the world saw me and how things were at that time. I kind of took it as a job. I fell in love with that process opposed to the shining lights of everything. So being that, like you said, more high performer than high achiever, I was so in it the day to day. I didn't notice the magnitude. Even when I would win at a high level, I never would ride it at that highest level that people would see it. I would always see it. If I did something in the world, the magnitude was at a 10, I would always ride it at like a 7.5, 8. Yeah, I give myself credit, but it's not who I am. Who I am is this worker, this high performer. So let me get back to that so that I can do it again and be comfortable when it's time to execute. So I never really, if my social, I never really was like, this is who I am. I was only that guy in the gym and on the track where I know I had to be that guy. I could switch it on. I would be places, and my friends would be like, "Man, just tell them who you are." Like, tell them. I'd be like, "Yo, that's." I mean, it doesn't really matter to me during my career, right? It could have been some times or whatever, but that's not who I was. So I didn't see it as that, but now I see that I have to embrace who I was, and what I did was bigger than it was for a purpose. It didn't just. I wasn't just champion by accident, or just by hard work. Something allowed me to handle that and handle it with so much grace and have the character afterwards to be so much more than that. But that's still part of my story. So it's just me now understanding who I am in this situation outside of somewhere like where I have to perform. But when I'm on stage, I have to kind of get into character also, but I know it's all about the crowd. It's all about the audience. So, and through life, I had to compartmentalize a lot. And it's been a tough transition to be able to
Oh, yeah.
go from, okay, I didn't really carry the Olympic gold medal and whatever, and really maximize those opportunities sometimes. But now I see it. So I have to really be who I am, especially if I'm going to deliver something to somebody.
And I think that you subconsciously were playing the long game,
Right,
because I think too many people play the short game. And what I mean by that is that they get buy into all the hype, and yeah, I'm gonna tell everybody who I am, and whatever that is, and then they burn out, right?
right,
People
right,
like to see that. People like to see that when you're performing at that level in sports, but afterwards
right,
they don't really care to see it anymore.
right.
So I think that subconsciously you were preparing yourself for what you're doing right now and playing the long
Oh,
game,
no, for sure.
man. And what I know is about to happen is just going to be incredible to watch.
I
And I'm
appreciate
so happy that I was like in the like near the beginning phases of that. I had breakfast with LaShawn Merritt. I don't know if you all knew that or not, but you know what I mean. And actually, I can text him right now if I need to. No, but I mean, dude, I'm so excited for you, man. Like
I
when we were
appreciate
able
it.
to reconnect to get on the show today, I just was like, man, I can't wait to get him on here and have some good conversation.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
I got just a couple more things we want to talk about when on here. What as you navigate through this into this new speaking and just getting out there and changing lives, what has failure taught you from that you can learn from anything to be able to put, because you're gonna have spots where this fails, right? People are going to deny, they don't want you on the stage, whatever, it's going to happen.
Right.
What has failure taught you along the way?
Failure is the secret ingredients to success. You have to fail. It has to happen,
Woo,
I feel.
man, that needs to be on a t-shirt.
It's a
Yeah.
part of the process. With me being that process guy and never looking far, but understanding it takes time and it takes the steps. All I can do is keep preparing. If it happened, go back, figure out what happened, and prepare better for the next time. Because just like the sport of track and field, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have thousands and thousands of reps on stage. And I hear from the greatest, the people that's in the position where I want to be or even surpass them, let me know, hey, I mean, it's a part of the process. So I know the lane. I don't know the lane. I'm learning the lane. I'm learning the language, the lay of the land. I have the great people around me who are helping me along the way. I'm I'm able to do the work. I want to do the work, and I just got to be as present as I can be and take it a day at a time, but know where I want to be.
Yeah, no, that it's just a test day, right? Like Andy Frisella is one of my guys I look up to, and he talks about test days. And the universe has a mysterious way of putting stuff in your way to test you to make sure it's
Hmm.
what you really want in life,
Hmm.
right? Like
Absolutely.
I had a test day this morning. Like it just happens. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
and I have to remind myself of that. And that's about that mental toughness that comes from just learning along the way.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
I
as
love
you
it.
embark on this is a lot of travel, a lot of crazy stuff to get from one city to the other, all these different things on this journey you're going to be on. And I know we talked a lot about this part on the track and field side is the rest.
Right.
What do you want to say to people out there the importance of understanding, making sure they get their rest? Because
Oh
you even
man.
told me like my days off when I was track and field, like
Right.
nothing.
The rest and recovery phase is what makes champions. You know, if you work too hard, you'll burn yourself out. The rest and recovery phase is what allow you to perform at a high level the next day. So if I can rest and you don't rest, I'm able to mentally think sharper the next day. I'm able to perform better in all aspects. So just the recovery is so important. I get a lot of chiropractic care, you know, and the chiropractor was there's a lot of travel in my years. I would travel 16 times a year for competition, and three of those would be in the US. So there's a lot of travel. Just now I'm traveling a lot domestically and not internationally. But I'm used to that. So with that, I still want to be sharp. I still make sure I get my rest because that's the only way you can perform at a high level.
Yeah, I think that's so key. Like when I go out to an event, like I go to a Vegas event and
Right.
I'm there to work. You know what I mean? I'm not there to go out and be out there getting crazy. I do that with my friends. We go out there on those trips. But when we're at an
Right.
event, it's about working. I want to be fresh and ready to go. I need to bring my best self to anything that I
Right.
do out there. So
Right.
yeah, I'm a big guy on the rest side, and I knew you were too. But I wanted to hear it from somebody else
Yeah.
because sometimes they don't listen to Chris. You know what I mean? I'm
Man,
just a just a
I'm gonna tell you, when I used to go at these competitions, it used to be I was never the one to be in cliques or anything. So they knew I was either in my room getting treatment on the track or getting rest. The rest and recovery. I was never the rest and recovery is what kept me going.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, you had a great career and a long career,
Yes.
long career. That's like a Tom Brady type of career. You know, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kept going, right? You kept going.
Some call me the
Um,
Cal Ripken of it.
Cal, I love that. I love that, man.
I've
That's a
heard
heck of a
that before.
compliment, dude. That's a
Yeah,
big
that's
time compliment
it.
right there.
Yeah,
Oh, Cal, yeah, Cal Ripken can probably still be playing if he could, you know.
yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the camps, the Nike camps. I've seen some of them, some on the social media and stuff, and I'd love for you to share about your foundation as well. I mean, we have a lot of people that listen to this show that may have an interest in maybe bringing you out for a camp or wanting to know more about your foundation.
Yeah, so with the camps, I did a free camp in my community, and Nike saw it, and they told me that they have a group where they'll partner with people and they do youth camps, age 8 to 18. So I contacted some people that I knew who were in the sport, coaches, and because there's no retirement fund or anything after track and field, there's nothing. So, and there's not a lot of people coming to look for us because we get 100 medals, which is crazy to me. So you really have to get up and do something and get out in the world. So I said, okay, so now I have speed camps, speed development camps, or track and field camps. We do a 1 day camp. I come to you. Uh, Nike provides the participants with t-shirts, wristbands, bags, lanyards. They provide the staff with all the Nike gear, and we go in. You know, I have different stations set up on the track. I have mindset. I have things on, uh, oh man, conservation of angular momentum. I'll get deep in it. I'll have the importance of ground contact time, all kind of how to recruit certain muscles, nutrition. We're going to start incorporating a session with the NIL to teach the parents who are out there about the NIL deals. And me coming around just letting these kids know some things that they were already told probably previously. But I realized that when certain people tell certain people certain things, they listen. So you can imagine how many times I've heard a parent tell me about a 12 or 18 or 17-year-old that I've been telling him that this whole time. Now you tell him, now he want to listen to it. So I
Yeah.
see the power in that. I see.
They say you can't be a prophet in your own town, right? So
Right.
that's part of it,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just how it is sometimes,
Yeah.
man. So I've been contacting people, like I said, to get me in their area if they're interested in doing a speed camp. I can get contacted at connect@LaShawnMerritt.com for that. I also have my foundation, the LaShawn L. Merritt Foundation, that I developed, and it's all about pouring into people who need the resources to inspire, let them know that it's a holistic approach, mind, body, and soul when you're approaching something, how important preparation matter, and just being that person of great character to influence and give hope around the world, really.
Yeah, I love that. So the Nike camps, I mean, guys, I know people are on here listening. Let's get some camps set up and get it going. And then think about how powerful he'd be on stage sharing his story. I've got the online summit that's coming up that everybody's going to do a 10 to 12 minute recording. I've got some powerhouse names on there. LaShawn Merritt's going to be one of those people. So you're going to get to, it's like an audition tape, right? An audition tape. We're expecting a few 100,000 people to log in and watch this online summit we have coming in June.
Right.
And you'll be able to watch LaShawn speak there as well. So let's get him on some stages. Let's make some stuff happen. When I tell you, you guys know, when I put my name behind somebody, I believe in it. And I believe in LaShawn Merritt. The guy's got a special place. He's done a lot of stuff, but he's just getting started.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on my show today, my friend.
Thank you. I love it. And be blessed for sure.
Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode. And we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.